What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Saturday, and we are up for a live stream today, which is pretty exciting. So excited to have y'all here. It's been a hot minute since I've done a live, so a lot has changed in the last 3 weeks. That's for sure. Um, between travel and just scheduling with clients, I haven't been able to pop on here, but I definitely wanted to take time to get in here at the end of the month, just kind of talk about what's going on, not only in Tampa, Florida, as we always do, but also nationally with the housing market. And there's some great things to talk about right now. There's obviously some things that are concerning to a lot of people. And we're going to get into some of those topics today. I'm pretty excited about the stuff that we're sharing. I think I probably have more than we're going to be able to cover today, but that's okay. It'll give us even more to talk about next week. And I want to continue to do this live stream as much as I possibly can on Saturdays, because it just seems to work out really good from a scheduling perspective. And I really like talking about what's happening now. The one thing about our platform and with real estate specifically is we're always operating off of old information, and it makes it really challenging when you have to wait to get sales data or really try to put your finger on the pulse when the pulse that you're being given was 6 weeks ago. And over the last 18 months or 2 years, that really didn't stop much, or many things from happening. But now we're literally week to week, day to day, things are changing so rapidly in this environment in real estate. And I definitely wanted to come on today and just, chop it up and talk about, what's going on in the market, give you guys some information so you can kind of digest what your plans are, with real estate, whether that's investing, selling, buying, or just the idea that you're considering doing those things. I think, I always want to empower my audience to make the best decision for them. And, the one thing I want you to be aware of as we get into this today is like, hey man, I'm not here to be the crystal ball guy. You got to make your own informed decisions about what's best for you, in real estate and financially. And there's a quote from Ray Dalio that I think says it best. And I'm just paraphrasing. This isn't perfect probably, but it's the idea that whoever lives by the crystal ball is destined to chew on glass, right? And there's a lot of truth in that. And as we get into, some of the numbers today and articles and those things that we're covering, just know that like, I'm not trying to come from a platform of like, hey, this is absolutely going to happen, or, just try to force my ideal set on you. Take what I'm sharing with you, dig into it. Like I always say, I put these resources down below. I'll link every single website that we use today, all of the sources in the description below after the live stream is ended. So you can come back and really do your own homework. Obviously, there's some things you're not going to have access to, like our MLS data specifically, and some of those numbers. You guys reach out, let me know. And I'd love to know where you're watching from. I always, find it intriguing when people reach out to me that people are watching from all over the country and the world. We've got several countries that watch, and I know because they've reached out to us specifically about, making that move to Tampa. So I just want to thank my audience first and foremost, and hopefully you get some value out of today's live stream. And that is the focus, but know that we're going to be here every single Saturday. Also, again, put that comment in the chat. Feel free. This is live, y'all. I'd love to know where you're watching from, your ideas on the topics that we're bringing up. If you've got some relevant information, please feel free to share that in the comments or the chat below as well. And just really appreciate all the interaction that tends to occur on these live streams, sometimes more than others, and that's okay. But, I want to get into these specific topics today. So I'd love to know where you're watching from first and foremost, if you got an audience. Also, let me know that audio is going well, because what happens on a a lot of times is what I see in the monitor is not the same thing that you guys see. We've been working hard to get this audio and visual right. I'm hoping that we're coming through clear on the video because I know it's been a little bit hazy for some reason, and hopefully we're not choppy as well. So if that is the case, please feel free to let me know that in the comments as well, because I would love to know where you're watching, how it looks, and all those things as well. So we're going to get into some of this stuff today, y'all. So I'm excited first and foremost to talk about some good things that are happening in the area here. You know, with all the crazy stuff that's going on, people pulling back, you're hearing, you know, concerns about potential job loss and those types of things. You know, like there's definitely some things to be concerned about. All right. And you know, I'm not here to gloss those over, but you know, I'm very fortunate, I feel, because I sell in two markets, right? I live in Tampa, Florida. I have a real estate team here in Tampa, Florida, and I also have a real estate team and a partner back home in Detroit. For those of you that don't know, we relocated in 2018, and you know, we absolutely have fallen in love with what the Tampa Bay area has to offer, from a lifestyle perspective, obviously from a weather perspective. It's hot right now, y'all. Like I always tell everybody, you know, the summer months are difficult, but like, and the way I can best describe this is like when you live in the Gulf Coast on the summer, you know, it's like God walked over and flipped a switch and the oven turned on with a big giant pot of water in the bottom of it, and you're just baking like a bag of clams. Like that's literally what it feels like. It is crazy. And then in the fall, it usually about the first week in November, he walks back over, flips the switch, and then it ends, and then it's perfection. And it's the Florida that everybody has in their mind. You know, it's high 70s or low 80s, and there's no humidity. It's beautiful, and those things are true. But man, the summers can be tough. It is hot, hot, hot all the time, and it rains every day. You know, like the one thing about Tampa that I think is very cool, that I get to experience here is the type of storms we have. Like our lightning, like our hockey team is named after the lightning, and that's for a reason. Because and I'm going to start talking about things I don't fully understand right now, but here's the history lesson that I have. Is the fact that you know, Tampa, it originally was an American Indian word, and it's not pronounced the same. I'm not going to try to pronounce it the way that they pronounced it, but it was a reference to the lightning in the area. And man, when you go up on the causeway, the Clearwater Causeway, or when you go over the Skyway Bridge and you're in the middle of a storm and you look out over the Gulf of Mexico and you see this beautiful lightning through the clouds, man, it is unbelievable, but it's also very humbling, right? When you realize how big the Gulf of Mexico really is and how small we actually are. I just love that. So, you know, talking about weather here, but I just wanted to share that with you guys because I often get asked, you know, like, Juan, what is the biggest difference between where you lived back home in Detroit and where you live now in Tampa? And I always give the same answer to anyone who's considering, you know, making a move to the area here. And at the end of the day, for me, the way I describe it is you don't have to shovel sunshine, right? And man, we get so much sun here. Even though it rains every day right now, it is sunny every single day. And it's a blessing. It changes your mood, makes you feel good about things, but it is hot. So like, I just want to keep that in perspective. I want to share, you know, that with anybody who's considering making that move. Our average temperatures are, you know, in the low 90, high 80s is what they average out to be. But like, you know, during the day, y'all, it's 91 to 93 degrees, you know, during the peak summer months, which is starting right now. And it's hot. So I just always like to share that perspective. But because of that weather, people are always looking to do really new things and really cool things. And that's where I wanted to start today and share this with you, because I'm excited to share what's going on here in Tampa. And, you know, again, as we talk through what's going on with the economy and what's going on through real estate, what I want to share with you guys is like, as of right now, commercial investors are still very bullish on the Tampa Bay area, and they are investing heavily. And we're seeing some really cool projects come to light. And one of those projects, and I want to share this with you here, so bear with me here. Let me pop this project up and then make this thing happen. Oh, and of course, we got a new computer, so I'm locked out of almost everything I need. Everything I need to keep things running smooth, and make it go. So hopefully we don't have any other hangups today, because I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys all of the cool things that are happening in Tampa right now. And the first thing I want to kick off with you guys is, let Oh my word. Okay, so it says we lost permission to share there, and we're gonna have to fix this. So without it, we're gonna be in trouble. So what? There's this thing called the Peak Surf Park, which is coming to Tampa. It's a 30-acre park, and man, I am excited to share it with y'all. Okay, this thing is it looks incredible. Now, I've never been one before, but this company is out of Australia and they built a few of these already. And they're looking to bring one to the Tampa Bay area. And there's been 2 sites officially kind of spotted here. And one of those sites is in Pasco County. And for those of you that don't know, Tampa Bay, when you look at it on the map, makes up pretty much 3 counties. It's Pinellas County, which is on the Gulf Coast, Hillsborough County, where Tampa proper is, and to the north of that, you got Pasco County. And that pretty much makes up the Tampa Bay area. Hernando could technically be thrown in there, but it's so far north, that's not really what's going on. But there are these 2 sites that people are looking at right now. And if we can get the screen share enabled, I'm going to share this stuff with you. That way you guys can see it. And we may need to try again. But there's Pasco County, which is pretty far to the north. And then we're looking at also looking at going into St. Petersburg. They've defined a spot in St. Pete. Now, you guys know I live in Pinellas County. We're a little less than 2 miles away from the Gulf of Mexico. Very blessed. We feel extremely fortunate. And of course, I would love to see a humongous surf park in my backyard, so to speak, right? And St. Petersburg is about 30 minutes drive for us. It's not far. It's a little less than 12 miles, but because of traffic. And if you guys have ever heard me talk about the lights in Tampa, you know that you could knit a blanket at some of them. So it just takes longer to get there than I was, used to in the past. But to be able to drive 30 minutes to go down and actually, have a clean area where you can do this. And I want to share some of the amenities that these guys are bringing in with this thing, because that's what I thought was pretty cool overall. Is not only are they bringing the surf park here, they're also bringing tonight you take full advantage of free Wi-Fi. Also bringing restaurants, bars, all of the other things that you think would come along with something like this is associated. They're calling it an action park. So it definitely has a lot more opportunity than just going and surfing, because I don't even surf, y'all. I don't even know how to surf. I've tried before. It was a tragic mess. Wasn't my best experience, but I did try, right? I absolutely did try. So we're working through that. But man, what a really cool thing to be able to do. And guys, bear with me. I'm going to try to work through what's going on here with the hang up. Just give me 1 second here, because I'm not able to share my screen for some reason. So let me work through this with Google Chrome's giving me fits right now. Let's see here. Yeah, we got that. It says we're good. It's shutting us down for some reason. All right, let's try this. I think we're going to get shut down, but we'll pop right back up. All right, looks like we're back. Hopefully that worked, because it shut us down. But that's all right. We'll get into this. Let's get cranking. Things happen. I'm still going to share these slides with you guys. We'll get it going here. Let me get back to pulling these up. It reset our whole live stream, which is not ideal. But the first thing I do want to get into is this the surf park, because I think this is super cool, and I'm very happy to share this with you guys. So let me pop this up, share screen. Try this one more time. Welcome to the joys of live streams. This is basically what happens, because you try to make things work, but they don't always work. Okay, let's make sure we're seeing this thing now. We got it, dude. One of those days, y'all. One of those days. We'll get it. Oh man. All right, bear with me. Okay, I think we finally got it. Heyo, yay! And you too can run a live stream. All right, so this is what I wanted to talk about, guys, and forgive me for the issue here, but this is the idea that this company has. So this is a 30-acre action park, is what they're calling it. And the example here, they got some solar and some other stuff running through here, but I just thought that this thing was so cool. To the two sites that they mentioned again was Pasco and then St. Petersburg. Again, I would much rather see, St. Pete, and it's got a half-mile of beachfront surrounding a lagoon. They've got a private beach on this thing. They're bringing restaurants and bars, and it's not just going to be surf. There's going to be other activities they're going to do down here. But to be able to have something like this in your very own backyard in Pinellas County, I think is super cool. And I wanted to show that to you guys as well, because I know sometimes it's really hard to get reference for where things are. So I want to jump over to the map really quick and kind of show you what I was referring to there with the actual slides. So when we talk about, what are we looking at in Tampa? Well, what does that look like, Juan, when we talk about relative to where I'm considering living, right? So when we jump into the map itself, you guys can get a really good glance at what the greater surrounding Tampa Bay area looks like. And this is where I always like to start with, because when people call me, they go, I would like to move to Tampa. And really their mind is probably in Clearwater or St. Petersburg, or maybe it's up in Tarpon Springs. I don't know, but I always like to give a frame of reference when we're talking about things. So Pasco County, as we discussed earlier, is this area up top here. And I can just draw on the screen too, make your life way easier. So Pasco County is basically, we start looking at this area and above. This is Pasco County up here. It goes a little bit. This isn't perfect, but this is ideally what you're looking at. And then down here, this is Pinellas County out in the Gulf of Mexico, essentially. And then over here, you've got Hillsborough County, like we discussed. And I know this is a mess, but I just wanted to give you guys reference. So what they're talking about doing is building the lagoons, or the surf park somewhere up in this area up here. They haven't given all the specifics, but somewhere in here. And then you got St. Petersburg down here. Now, St. Pete's a city of about 350, 400,000 residents. We'll see when the new census comes out, but that's about where it is. And obviously this is surrounded by the beaches too. So I wanted to give you guys just a frame of reference in terms of what this would look like. But we're just talking about this surf park, man. Like this bad boy here is going to be pretty exciting. When we take a look at what that's going to look like overall. I'm definitely excited to have, a surf park in our backyard, man. That's not something that comes every single day. So I think to be able to take the kids and go to a surf park and maybe teach them how to surf. But the goal there is just to go and have a day, right? And I love the beaches. We moved here for the beaches, and maybe that's what you're considering doing as well. I don't know. Maybe you're not a beach person at all. You just want the sunshine and the weather, and that's great too. But the thing about the beaches is, like, with the beaches you've always got pros and cons for everything, right? So like with the beaches, you've got beautiful sunshine. The water's great. Some days are better than others. And it's because, that's just the way that the ocean and the Gulf works, right? Like if there's storms out in the bay, it could really push up some chop and a lot of seaweed up to the beaches. That happens from time to time, not always, but it does. So you can go out and the beaches are kind of messy. The other thing is like salt water. Some people don't like to swim in salt water at all. I actually enjoy it, but you can't open your eyes and do all the things. It just becomes a little bit of a challenge. So, to be able to go to a lake or a lagoon and be able to swim a little bit more and do those things, it just sounds like a great time. Now, it may be completely overwhelming and we may not enjoy it at all, but I think it's a great opportunity to do something unique in the area. So I'm always intrigued when that stuff is happening. And I'm excited for it, y'all. We don't have stuff like that every single day coming to our marketplace. And if people are willing to invest in the area, I think that's a great sign of things to come. And I wanted to kind of make that transition today because there's so much going on, in our marketplace and in our country, right? Like, let's be honest, there's so much going on. But on the housing side, it's just like, man, where are we headed next? Because there's so many things that are taking place economically that you and I can't control in any way, shape, or form. And we're often wondering, like, what does that look like? Like, what are we going to do with that? Because I I am not in control of these things. The only thing I control is like how hard I work, right? And the people that I serve. And I'm sure a lot of you are the same way, so having understanding that is where we're at in this country right now. Like, this is just a reality of things that are okay. So, just wanted to share some of that stuff with you guys. And the comments aren't coming through today. I'm not quite sure why either. The joys of live stream, right? So, if you're watching this on YouTube, please let me know that it's working. I can see the Facebook comments are coming through. What's up, Doug? Okay, so it is working. Thank goodness. All right, love watching The Surface. I'm gonna share that. Doug says, love watching The Surfers by Jimmy Buffett Hotel, Lickerdale. There's a nice beach bar to get the margarita near afterwards. Nothing wrong with a great margarita, by the way. Surf park in Tampa would be phenomenal. It really would. I mean, we've got so many fun things. There's this thing up north called Snowcat Ridge, and that's in Pasco County, where it's literally you can go sledding and they make snow, and it's pretty cool. And if you're in Florida, you don't see snow, you don't know nothing about snow, right? So I think that's a really cool thing to have. Do you think that it will be a nice cocktail bar? Yes, I absolutely do. They've mentioned that there's going to be a bar and restaurant attached to the facility. They're going to try to make a day of it. I'm sure that, look, man, if you spend your 30 or 40 or whatever their number is going to be for the day, that they're going to try to keep you there and then keep that money flowing too, right? Second money is always the easiest thing to get, right, Doug? So I think that's absolutely, it's great. And I'm looking forward to that as well. Okay. So here's the other thing I wanted to get into today, guys. We're going to talk. What I want to do is when we start talking about real estate, I want to give you a couple different angles. First, I think I want to talk about nationally, and kind of work my way in reverse from there. Again, I'm going to give the caveat. I'm not here to be your real estate guru. I study this stuff. I love the numbers, but I don't have a crystal ball. If anyone could predict the next 6 weeks, they would be a billionaire that wouldn't be talking to you on YouTube, right? So I'm just sharing that with you guys because that's the reality of it. But I study this, right? My goal as a real estate professional and as an investor is to try to understand where the puck is going. Wayne Gretzky always said it. He said, I don't focus on where the puck is. I focus on where the puck is going. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish here too, because at the end of the day, here's how it works. You can make money in any market, whether things are up or down. And right now you're hearing all kinds of crazy stuff, right? That you're hearing like, prices are going down and there's going to be a crash that's imminent. And there's all kinds of things being thrown around. A lot of partial truths, a lot of no truths, and there's truth in everything that you can measure, right? So the thing I want to talk about is first and foremost is like, let's start at 30,000 view. Let's take a step back and go, okay, what is actually happening here with our economy and with housing, right? So the first thing I want to address is the fact that, y'all, if you look back over the history of our nation and since they've been tracking economy really well, like on average, we have a recession every 7 years. It's been 14. It's been 14. So we're well overdue from a statistical perspective, right? And the other thing I want to keep in mind is a recession isn't necessarily a bad thing. A lot of the times it's there to shake off the junk. What I mean by that is like there are actors, for lack of a better term, taking advantage of market conditions. Now, that's business and commerce as a whole, right? Like the goal is to find a need and fill it. But if you can do that and service people in a way that brings real value, then you'll have a sustainable business practice, right? If you do it in a way that takes advantage of people and it's only due to market conditions, then you're going to get found out when the tide goes out, so to speak, right? Warren Buffett says you find out who's skinny dipping when the tide goes out. And that's what's happening right now. That's what's happening. So, I want to talk about some of this stuff, and I want to get into some of these these crazy headlines that I'm seeing come across. And I've got, bear with me because again, we got shut down on the live stream. So I've got to pull all the stuff back up. It might take me a second, but I want to walk you through, the headlines we're seeing and the realities of some of these comments. And, are they true? Is this just stuff that, it isn't real? Is it just, or is it the whole idea of it? If it bleeds, it leads, which is usually how news outlets go out. But the first thing I want to start with here is this article here. And to me, this article it's a really great in a very short period of time. Because if you get in the weeds in this stuff, like trying to figure out all the things that contributed to the last 18 months, like guys, there's so many factors, and there's factors in there that we've never seen before. But I think this article does a really good job. It's from Insider. It says the housing market isn't crashing; it has a hangover. And if any of you have had a hangover before, that's not the most pleasant experience. But I want to get down into the nitty gritty, and forgive me, man, I had all these things highlighted, but this is what I want to get to, because this is the real crux of the issue, and this will help us better understand where things are, why they're there, and where they most likely could go. Okay. So the housing market isn't crashing, but it's experiencing a hangover. It comes from the unsustainable high. Now, when we talk about that unsustainable high, what in the heck does that mean, Juan? Because that's a really great question that we need to answer, right? And as we're all aware, at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a whole bunch of unknowns. And, in April of 2020, basically the world stopped, including real estate. And at that point, the powers that be decided the best way to get this thing up and moving again was to print money, right? So they did a lot of it. And I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. I can talk 6 ways from Sunday about the economy, but that's not the point of this. But the point is, and I always use this analogy because I think it works really well, is the fact that, and this is the analogy I use with inflation. If we all walked into a room and there was let's say the Mona Lisa was for sale, and everybody in that room only had $10. That was all we could walk in the door with. And we were bidding on the Mona Lisa. And well, it's obvious that no one in the room can spend more than $10. But if the government was to come in and print a bunch of money, okay, and then take that money and put it in our auction space, right? Let's say that they print and gave everyone an additional $1,000, which they did. They've sent out stimulus checks, right? Do you think it's possible that now that Mona Lisa could sell for $1,010? Well, it's not possible. It's probable. And that's basically what was happening here, with all things goods and service related, right? People all of a sudden had money to invest in things like crypto. People all of a sudden had extra money to do things like renovate their kitchen, or buy the project in their yard they've been sitting on, or buy an extra tool that they've been waiting to get, or they save that money that they maybe did or didn't need, and then they put it towards a down payment of a home. And this is how this thing got kicked off, right? Part of it. The other part was you actually had a shutdown in certain areas where people weren't even allowed to go places, right? Where we sell back home in Metro Detroit, my team was not allowed to sell. Like, real estate was non-essential. Anything that was transacting wasn't closed. Like, it wasn't not able to transact. Well, for the most part, there were some municipalities that weren't doing inspections, so that became a challenge. But it shut this whole process down. Now, other areas like Florida, where I live and where I sell, right, we were open. And what that did is the people who were able to travel and weren't fearful started this whole process of traveling. And then you guys saw the news, right? And this isn't, we don't need to get into the politics side of it, but like, this is essentially what happened that spurred all of this, right? So we had demand that was kind of put on pause. And then what happened is the government printed a bunch of money. And then on top of that, they lowered interest rates, making money very inexpensive to borrow. So you could leverage yourself at a much higher rate. So people started to buy up homes because the interest rates were 2.75, 2.85, whatever your interest rate was. It was wonderful. Maybe you got a 3.25, but historically speaking, that's phenomenal, y'all. So I wanted to give you that perspective. Phenomenal. So the housing market starts to just take off. And then what happened was it was like gangbusters, prices started to increase. Money was flowing because it was cheap and easy, and people are buying up houses, right? They're buying houses left and right. And there's way more factors. That's a whole nother conversation that I get into, but I want to kind of share like how this started out. So when you look at that article, and that article says, hey, the housing market's not crashing, it's hung over. Well, this is what they're referring to, right? They're talking to this idea that it was going the wrong direction artificially. It wasn't something that was put together intentionally. And as you dig into this article a little bit more, it talks about this. Data from Redfin shows that 22.4% of the homes that were for sale in June experienced a price drop. So it starts talking about the price drops and things like that too. To be sure, demand is fizzling, not crashing. Unlike 2008, the housing market, today's buyers are competing for a limited amount of inventory. This is a key note in this phrase, in this article. And this is the thing that I want to talk to you about today. Okay. Because you're going to start to hear that the housing market is crashing because prices are correcting. Okay. And it's hung over because it was inflated the wrong way. Up front, it was artificially propped up by printed money that didn't exist prior to that, and artificially uh, cheap, low interest rates, right? And then now it's starting to swing back to the other side. What's happening right now is the Federal Reserve is pushed into a scenario where the Fed is now he has to try to cool the economy because affordability. Let's just talk about housing, and which is almost over 20% of the gross domestic product in this country, right? If something doesn't happen to correct these prices, the affordability issue is going to continue to climb. And I can back that up with data. And that is why my belief is, again, this is not Juan telling you what is or isn't going to happen, but my belief is we are not going to see a real estate crash, right? And there are so many factors, and I'm going to pull up all, data point after data point that validates my argument. Now, the challenging part about data is you can use it to validate anything you want. But I want you to understand that I'm thinking through this through a math perspective, not just a talking perspective, right? So we're talking about why. So that's one of the articles I want to share with you. And here's the biggest reason why I believe that this is not going to be a crash. I do believe that we're going to experience stagnation and potentially stagnation in our economy or a longer recession at whatever that looks like than I've ever seen in my adult life for a lot of factors. But the first reason I want to show you why I believe that the real estate market is not going to crash is this one here. I want to share this one with you first because this one is the most important to the whole thing. Remember, I'm going to link all of these articles down below. I would encourage you to pull this entire research paper and go through it because the data is pretty glaring. And here's the thing that I want to hit you with right away. In order to have a real estate crash, we need a few things. We need to have little to no demand, right? Which the Federal Reserve can do by raising interest rates. They can artificially stifle demand, just like they artificially inflated demand at the beginning of the pandemic, right? So they can do that. The one thing the Federal Reserve and our United States government cannot fix is this thing right here. And this is what this study found. Okay. This study found that we are 3.8 million homes short of what we actually need to curb the demand and make it flat. 3.8 million. This study goes in depth and back all the way back to the housing crash of 2008 when the builders stopped building. We were almost 1.5 million homes short then, and we have been underperforming year over year to keep up with the demand. And we've talked about this a little bit in the past, guys, on these live streams, but understanding how big the millennial generation actually is, how many people are in that demographic, and then Gen Z behind them, they're huge. There's so many of them, and millennials are in their home buying prime right now, and Gen Z is going to follow up right behind them. And our seniors are gracefully aging in place. They're living longer than they've ever had. They're living fuller lives than they've ever had. And they are staying put where they're at, especially when you look at with the cost of housing right now. So this affordability crisis was what we keep seeing this term. That's real. And what you're seeing right now with inflated interest rates, if they keep pushing those up, that's only going to put demand on a pause. That doesn't mean that real estate is not a valuable asset class. It doesn't mean that the value of real estate has been stolen. All it is someone artificially trying to cool the demand to slow down the economy. Now, will it happen? Can it happen? Yeah, it's happening. Okay. How long? I don't know. But when you look at data like this, it should give you confidence that whenever we find balance, whenever we find this equilibrium of cooling inflation and not dipping interest rates down to a rate that's unsustainable and raising prices through the roof, we're going to have a healthy real estate market because people need to buy and sell, and the generations that are coming up are humongous and they make good money, y'all. So I want to share this stuff with you guys because I think it's super important. Okay. I'm going to read this comment here. Let me jump out of this share real quick. Sostrom, as a potential Canadian investor, when would you recommend? Oh, let me pop this in. I always like to read them out. As a potential Canadian investor, what would you recommend is a good time to realistically look into investment properties for either long-term or rental or Airbnb? So loaded, there's a lot going on there. That's more than one question. Short-term Airbnb, there is a lot of speculation there right now because a lot of the municipalities around the country are trying to put an end to that. In Tampa, we're one of the higher areas for vacancies. And the reason is because there's a lot of Airbnbs. Now, when you get down towards the coast, a lot of these cities have banned it. You cannot do a short-term, meaning overnight. The short stay will be 7 months or 7 days or something like that. Right. But there are always good deals to be had. And here's how I'd like to answer this as plainly as possible. If you're considering buying and holding real estate, there is never a bad time to do that. Never. I assure you, if you go back and ask anyone who bought a home 20 years ago, if they're upset that they bought that home 20 years ago, the answer is no. Everyone wins over time with real estate. It is always the best time. It's the old adage of when's the best time to plant an oak tree? Today. Right now. And same thing with real estate. So Sostrom, I know that you're asking as a point of, hey, when is a good time to get in out? The thing about timing is look at it this way. If you buy now and interest rates go up, you pick the right time. If you buy now and prices continue to climb, which they are, you bought at the right time. If you buy now and interest rates go down, you refinance, you wait it out and do the thing. So I don't think there's a bad time. Now, from an investment strategy, depending on what your strategy is, those are different conversations, how to approach those. Again, Airbnb right now for me is coming off the table. Like, I don't want to play in that world. The cap rates don't make sense. The pressure you're seeing from the local and state governments and government, it just doesn't make sense to me, right? Buy and hold strategies, I'm all in for. I think you should buy as much real estate as you possibly can get your hands on at any point and then hold it. If you're considering trying to buy something and sell it in a year, I think flips right now are going to be a lot more challenging. There's more risk involved in that. So I definitely keep your eyes on those for sure. Doug says, anytime's a good time to buy real estate. Do a rate cap calculator and cash flow numbers. Yes. Good deals. Let me see here. And then we've got JT, who is the guy who chews on glass, who we spoke about earlier. In regards to, if you want to buy in Tampa, wait until November. Only idiots would buy before then in November. Strong word, JT. I'm not necessarily sure I agree with you. If you'd like to back that up with numbers, put it in the chat, bro. We'd love to see that. Put it in the description, man. We'll definitely chat that up. Okay, so when we talk about where's this thing going, right? Great question. I didn't want to get tangent on this stuff. I wanted to share each one of these components, by themselves. So like we look at this, we had ridiculously low interest rates. Now they're coming up to past what would be normal, because that's about that 5.5 range. And again, I'm making generalities here. Go do your own homework, but that's right about where it would land. We just had a 9.1% inflation rate that hit. The Fed's going to do what the Fed does this week. I've heard people say as much as a whole point. I think 3/4 is definitely probably likely. Again, we'll see where that goes. We don't quite know yet, but it's something to keep your eye on. Prices and price decreases are going down. I'm going to share that data with you guys here. I know I get a few articles. Like I said, I don't think we're going to get through all this today, but I want to kind of show you this stuff, because as you see it, where are these things going, and what are the challenges going to be? And here's another point of why I don't think real estate's crashing in anytime soon. We talk about, you hear this stuff with rental rates, right? If you go back and you look at those CPI numbers that the government just came out with, the biggest challenge in there was rent. The biggest increase. And today, the median list price for rent in the nation is $2,000 or $2,000. The average rental rate as of today is $1,836, somewhere right around in that number. It's same thing here in Tampa. We're at $1,800 right here, but the consumer price index jumped to 9.1% in June. And the thing is most of that was rent. And you look down here, the national median monthly asking price for rent is $2,000. Now, again, if you look at housing and you say we're short 3.5 million homes, let's say that article is complete crap. let's say that their numbers are terrible. Let's say that we're still only behind 1.5 million homes, 1.5 million, which is astronomical. We're still short versus the demand needed. And we live in a capitalistic society. This is not complicated. If you do not have enough of the thing, right, then the thing is always going to be worth more than it would in a neutral market. And that is where we're at. And what is putting pressure on is rent. And do you honestly think, and I'm sorry if you guys feel like I'm being strong right now, but like, think of it this way. Do I honestly think that if interest rates climb to 7%, and I'm just throwing this number out here, I don't have any data that tells me it's going to be 7. Do I believe it could get there? I think it's possible. If interest rates get to 7%, and the average house still costs $400,000, people are going to choose to rent. They're going to have to, because affordability is a serious issue. And if we believe that, then people who can afford to buy single family home rentals, Sostrom, this was your question earlier, right? Do you think that rent's going to be less next year, or rent's going to be more? It's going to be more. Rent is going to continue. I don't believe for 1 second that the goods and services that I buy personally are going to cost me less money in the next 3 to 5 years. I'm convinced that they're only going to cost me more money. Could gasoline go down? The answer is yes. I do believe it does. I'd pray it does, right? Could groceries see a little bit of a dip? Yes, but it's like politics, man. When they want a 10%, listen, if they want a 2% tax increase from us, they don't ask for 2%. They ask us for 10%. That way we lose our mind, say that will never happen. And when they come in with the 2% offering, we're like, oh, thank goodness we only got 2%. That's what happens. And what we're seeing right now in our economy, do you honestly believe that companies like Amazon and all of these companies who are now able to make more money are going to reduce their pricing over the next 3 to 5? Go show me that in data. It doesn't exist. Right? It does not exist. So I know I'm being strong on this, but like, man, I look at this stuff every day, and I'm looking at these comments, and people just, they're talking crazy stuff. Like, you cannot show me where the data lives that we're going to have a crash. And I'm going to find the one that said that talks about. I'll need to find this, guys. Forgive me. I'll pull up. There's a CoreLogic article, which everything crashed. So I don't have them at my fingertips anymore. There's a CoreLogic article. Look for it in the comments below afterwards. Homes in distress are at an all-time low. And this is no longer an issue from the government saying you no longer have to pay your mortgages. This is because people are making good money, right? We are putting more and more people in the jobs. This is the next thing that we're going to pull into, and I'm going to pull up the article on that. There are more people with jobs today, right? Florida's super strong. Texas, all the Sun Belt where people wanted to move to, we are putting jobs on the table more and more. So if you don't have enough houses, but you've got more than enough jobs, right? And prices are continuing to go up, rents continuing to go up, and you don't have enough of the thing. This only leads to the idea that there's stability there. I'm not saying that we're not going to see price decreases. I do not believe for 1 second that real estate is going to get through this, whatever this thing is, unscathed. It's impossible, right? While they're not mutually exclusive, everything touches each other. Right. And jobs being lost wherever that's going to happen is ultimately going to affect our economy here in Tampa and nationally. But we just don't have the data to back that up with you guys right now. Right. Like, it doesn't exist in terms of where it is. So I wanted to get to the affordability issue is there. I want to talk about the jobs thing. Bear with me, y'all. Like I said, I'm sorry, but I already had this all set up. And of course it fell down. Blackstone. That's where I want to talk about with this. The CEO, the COO of Blackstone, and I'm going to put this up with you guys here. It says, Jonathan Gray said that the two best sectors right now of the economy, right, are going to be rents, right? What do you say? Housing and rentals. So, I mean, when Blackstone, BlackRock, and I know there's this article that just came out that said BlackRock has a $30 billion loss because of their real estate holdings. But guess what? They're not selling those real estate holdings. They're holding on to those because rental rates are going through the roof. So be careful what you're looking on that. I'm going to get Paul. Some of these comments are the best, y'all. I don't share them all with you, but some of them are actually incredible. Let me see here. Do you think condos are a decent deal? You can get a decent condo for 100 or 150 as opposed to paying 300K in a single family. Joshua, this is a good question. This is going to be very specific to your lifestyle. The thing that, if I could just briefly kind of pull back a little bit, most people don't buy property, real estate, based upon its price. They buy it based upon the payment. If you are a cash investor, then you're definitely looking on that cash on cash return and what is the price. But you got to remember there's a cost associated with purchasing things. And a single family home doesn't have an HOA, right? A HOA fee that you have to pay to an association. And some of these condos that are you see for $100,000 or $150,000 in the area, they're financially insolvent. And what I mean by that is they can't afford the next big mistake that comes. Or maybe they've been putting off repairing the road or the plumbing in the entire complex because there's not enough money in the reserves to do that. This is going to become a huge thing. Doug, you're on here. I know you're probably digging into this data too, but like, especially in Florida, because the laws are changing because of that collapse that happened in South Florida a year and a half ago. And condo associations are going to be forced to raise the rates. So we're seeing, places that had a $350,000 or $350 a month association fee now go to $500 to cover the cost. So be mindful of that when you look at, hey, it only costs this. No. That's what the price is. That's not the cost. They're different things. So I hope that helps a little bit. You really need to be intentional about what are you trying to do, right? Because if a condo costs you $200,000, but the association fee is $500 every month, then you definitely need to factor that in when you're looking at the overall cost of something. So I just wanted to share that with you because yes, it looks cheaper up front, but when you stack them up side by side, it doesn't always equal the same thing. So you want to be mindful of that, right? And you really want to get with somebody who can help you through these numbers. I hope the value that I'm bringing to you guys is like understanding that like there's more than one way to look at things, right? I've got people in my life that look at investments and they'll come to me and be like, well, hey, it only costs this much, but if I go here, it costs this much. But they're not stacking up the cash on cash return, meaning that like if they put in $30,000 on one investment, but it cash flows $35,000 a year versus the other one that cash flows $30,000, but they only put the $30,000 up front, it doesn't matter what the cost of the thing was, right? And again, you need to run your own strategy here, but I'm just giving perspective. There are multiple different ways to look at real estate investments. Some people buy them for the appreciation only. Some people buy them for to limit their tax liabilities. Some people buy them to cash flow. There are so many different ways to invest in real estate. So I hope that helps a little bit because I know that's a pretty big question there overall to ask, but back into the numbers here, we're getting into some of these statistics. All right. So we talked about the rental increases. We talked about the national housing prices. We talked about the affordability crisis. We talked about being short 3.5 million homes, which is just an astronomical number in my mind. We talked about BlackRock believing that rental market is one of the best categories of investment to be in right now. And then the other thing we talked about is the foreclosures, right? We don't have the foreclosures we need. And I'm sorry, guys, like I said, I lost some of this data, but I will link everything down below. Look for articles afterwards so you can see this. This is the one I wanted to talk about was job growth specifically, because again, Juan doesn't just like to speculate with stuff. We want to make sure that we're giving this the right one. Yep. Job growth. So I want to get down here to I thought this was fascinating. Well, here it talks about the top metros for job growth in the United States. These are the top 10 metro areas between May 2021 and May 2022. So this is very recent data. Atlantic City, New Jersey, huge job growth. Las Vegas, Nevada, job growth. Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Dallas Metroplex has just been exploding. Odessa, Texas, Orlando, Florida, which, again, they're having their challenges in terms of slowdown, but man, it's growing like crazy. Sarasota, which is our partner just to the south here. Nashville, Tennessee, Austin, Texas, Flagstaff, Arizona, and Athens, Georgia. I thought that those were great. Getting into some of these articles. Here's what I wanted to show you down here below is how states stacked up. All right. So between May and May, so year over year, what is their job growth? And you look at these states. California had 5.1, Texas at 6.1% job growth. New York had 5.3, which I thought was great. Georgia 5.2. Here's us, Florida here, stacked in at 5.4%. Our job growth. So we don't have enough homes. We're in the top 3 of relocation destinations where people want to move to. We've got jobs growing like crazy. Tampa's become the unofficial tech hub of Florida. Like, there's all of these reasons to believe in the continued growth of our segment, our category, and to have confidence in what it is. Now, having said all that, I don't want to go super long here, so I want to get into our local data really quick, guys. So bear with me as I pull this back up with you. What do you got, Doug? Doug says Florida will most likely beat national unemployment. There are many areas of Florida that are running short staff. Yep, lots of money retired moving to Florida. I love that for my northeastern people of Florida. That's great. I know I'm doing a terrible impression there, but that's real life, right? Like, that's the real deal. Oh, this is a good one. Zoran, how often do you see sellers finance clients? Over the last 18 months, virtually none. It does happen, but it was so few and far between. This is where I think, man, this is an opportunity. Thank you for bringing this up, because I truly believe that if we start to see those 7.5% interest rates kick up there, that you're going to start to see very creative financing come back to play. There are people who have homes that have a 2.5 or 2.75% interest rate that they would love to sell. Well, if you can come in and assume the mortgage, and this is a whole nother topic, but those are there. There are people who own these outright that they would love to be the bank. This is a great question, and I'm sure that we're going to see more opportunity like this in the future. So thank you for bringing that up. I think it's super important to kind of talk through that. And I would love to know, like, when you say how often do sellers finance, like what type of financing are you thinking? Like, follow that up with a little bit more meat there, Zorn, if you don't know, because there are some people who've never even heard that term before that are going to watch this and are like, hey, what does that even mean? And I think it's important to kind of dig into that a little bit. So let me get into that too. Kill this. And I want to show you guys live data because, as you know, I love to share that with you. So this way you can kind of see what's going on in Tampa right now, because I'm just going to be real with y'all. Like, things are changing. Things are changing on the dime right now. Like, they are moving around. So I hope you guys can see this. Let me narrow in on this. This is the one I want you to look at right here. Is the one on the side. All right. This guy right here. Can I get this close up? This one over here. So we got new listings set at 6. So this is the last 7 days. This is a 7-day rolling average of what's going on in the Tampa Bay area right now. So we've got 1,650 new listings that have come to the market. That number really needs to be about 3,000 every 7 days for us to be at a neutral space, meaning like a flat market, not a seller nor a buyer. But we need a really heavy amount of inventory still. But this is what I want to take note of. 1,650 new listings have come to the market in the last 7 days. Now, this thing has been growing exponentially. 1,888 price decreases. This doesn't mean that the houses are worth less. This is the thing I want to kind of wrap people's mind around really quickly, okay? It doesn't mean that the home is worth less. What this means is that it wasn't priced appropriately when it hit the market, or the market shifted while it was on the market. Either way, it's not priced appropriately. And we've talked about this before with the Make Me Move seller. Listen, if your property is not the best property right now, meaning that you don't have good updates, the house is in good condition, you're going to be one of these people on this list, and you better price it right out of the gate, because this is starting to take hold, guys. And properties are going to start to sit because they're missing pricing up front, and then they're chasing the market. I don't want to say they're chasing it down, but they're chasing it because they mispriced it to begin with. But that's something to take note of. When I did this 6 weeks ago, if you guys go look at our first live that we did, there was like 380. There's 1,500 more every 7 days now. That's staggering. All right, back to the market, 371. This means how many properties were under contract that fell back to the market. That's actually a pretty good number. So if you look at 1,650 listings and then add the 371 there, right, now you get up to almost 2,000 properties that were back on the market or on the market during this 7-day stretch, okay? Pending sales, meaning how many went off the market. Well, if you look at new listings versus pending, a majority of this inventory is still getting chewed up, right? It's when you see 3,000 versus 1,500, now all of a sudden you really got to start to take notice and go, okay, what's really going on here, right? What's really happening here? And I'm gonna get a little bit deeper in these numbers, but I'm gonna pull the screen off so I can dig that data in the back end and show you guys what's going on there, because I don't want to have to do the search with you live here. But I'd love to know, based upon what you guys are seeing in your market, what are you seeing? Where are you watching from, first and foremost? Please put that in the comment, and then let me know what's going on in your market. Here's what I would hope that you would do. Don't tell me what you think is happening. Tell me what you know is happening, right? Like, because prices still were up 23% year over year in Tampa in the month of June. So our housing prices aren't going down, even though you're seeing all these price decreases. Are they going to start to happen? I don't know, man. To me, it looks like it's completely possible if interest rates continue to climb. Um, but is it going to get that back down to pre-pandemic? I don't see that. If our real estate values in the United States go back to pre-pandemic levels, that means your global economy has melted down. And it had nothing to do with real estate. It had everything to do with everything else going around us. And it doesn't mean it can't happen. And it doesn't change the fact that doesn't, nobody wants to see that, but I just can't see that. All of the leading indicators, not enough houses, rental rates continue to increase, right? Jobs are still super strong. Like all of the things that actually matter, foreclosures aren't even on the radar, right? Delinquencies are not even in an area where we need to really be focused on them. And you're going to hear delinquencies were up 300%. Well, yes, they were, because 300% of nothing, right, is still nothing when you think about it. We've talked about this before. Like prior to the pandemic, on an average year, you would see 280 to 300,000 foreclosures in the United States. The last 2 years, there was less than 40,000. That's nuts when you think about that. So I know I'm getting strong on my language here. I wanted to just run these last numbers with you guys on the sold data for the last 30 days. Because I think that's live bullets, so to speak. Now, remember, sold is what has closed in the last 30 days. So some of those contracts have been taken 45, 60 days ago, a long time ago, but it's a good place to start as we go through this data together. Because I always run the sold, the 30-day sold, 30-day pending, and then the active listings with you as well. So you can get an idea of what these things actually look like, right? So bear with me. We're just pulling up the counties to put in here. Well, you know what? Let me share this with you guys. I think I've showed it to you before, but I'm not afraid to share. I always show the back end. Cool. Go over here. Yes, I think we're good. Hopefully you guys can see it now. Yes. All right, sweet. You're in. Now I can do my thing. All right, so we're looking at sold data for the last 30 days, and we're going to go to Pinellas, Hillsboro, Pinellas, and Pasco. And I just want to show you the areas that we're working in. Okay, we're going to do residential. Let's do single family houses so you guys can kind of check this out, because I think this is a really good, really good place to start. Well, let's do that in condos. We'll do both of them together. Yep, cool. All right, we got 4,313 results. Let's pop this up. And then I'm going to run the stats for you guys. Break this down to the simplest math. All right, I love running this stuff with you. Last 30 days, okay? So the average, let's just start with the average. The average, and we got condos and single family homes on here. This doesn't include townhouses and villa. You could throw those in the mix here. I typically like to do single family because it gives you the best area, but let's pull in condos too, because we got so many condos here. The average condo that sold was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,802 square foot. It was listed at $503,000. And it sold at $501,409. Now here's a bit of a dip. This is a change, right? So we've been monitoring these changes going, okay, well, what's going on there, right? Because this has been listing at 503 and selling at 508. And now we're seeing it was listed at 503 and they're selling at 508. So they're selling below list price. Now this isn't every property. This is the average, right? So I want to kind of give you some perspective on that. When you go to the median, okay, it was listed at 400 and sold at 410. So you can see on the average, all right, the average is one thing, the median is entirely different. And for those of you who don't know, go check that out. It'll go way too long if I have to get into that. All right, now the average days to close was 63. The average days on market was 14. So the velocity, the average home was only on the market for 2 weeks. Basically over the last 60 days is what this is showing. So that's a pretty interesting stat, right? So I want to get into this now, and I want to go back into pending. over the last 30 days. We looked at pending over the last 7, but let's look at the last 30. Same category. We're going to look at the same stats. So this is condo and single family homes. The average home was a 3-2 again. It was 1,783 square feet. It was listed at 492. So that average list price is coming down. We went from 503, correct if I'm wrong, 503, 504, down to 492. So that average list price dropped, which is very interesting. Now, because we got condos blended in here, it could throw that number off a little bit. But the average days to contract was 26. Now, when we did this last, it was 21. So we've added another 5 days. So properties are starting to sit on the market a little bit longer. This is something to be aware of, right? Or I'm sorry, days to contract. The average days on market is 19. So we're right in there, 3 weeks. This is what we're looking at in terms of average days on market. And then the last one I want to share with you guys is the active. This is what is actually on the market. Now, there's way more homes on the market than there has been. This is going to be a really good indicator on what's going on. So active, we don't need to put a date because it's just everything that is for sale today in the 3 counties that we discussed. All right. So the average home is a 3.3 now. So we've added a bathroom with the average listings that are on the market. The sizes went up 2,124 square feet. The average list price is going to go up as well because the homes are bigger. But the average listing right now, this is the average, is 624. And when we go back to the median, I talk about this all the time. The median price point in Tampa right now is 450, which I think is 50,000 over the national average. Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought the national average was right around 400, just for perspective. But here's the thing I want you to look at: the average days on market. The average days on market for the homes that are actively for sale in the market right now are 37 days. So we went from, less than 10 days to 14 days to 21 days. Now we're up to 37 days. So this is the number that I want you to watch, because if the average days on market continues to climb, we're going to see prices start to decrease. To what level? I don't know. It's really going to depend on demand, and the demand right now is being manipulated by interest rates. So I hope this helped, guys. I know we went pretty long today, but I love sharing this stuff with you guys. Okay, stated. Doug's got a few more questions. Let's answer these few questions, and then we'll wrap up for today. And hey, y'all, do me a favor. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please do me the honor of subscribing, clicking that little bell. It tells me that you guys are getting value out of this, and it helps push this out to other people in the area. It really helps the channel. And what my analytics say is 85% of you are not subscribed. Shame on you. I'm just kidding. But I would love it if you do that and hit that like button. If you're watching on one of the social platforms, please feel free to make a comment. I will follow back up with you, I promise, because I don't see those live. I just see what's on StreamYard here. So I just want to thank you for doing that. But Doug says, Juan, are there any stated income loans for exceptional credit? Yeah, stated income never went away, Doug. They were more challenging. A lot of the times with stated income, you've got to have really good credit. You've got to have income coming in, and you've got to have 25% down. That's really what was holding people back more than anything else. Is most people don't want to put 25% down, with the stated income. So definitely something that makes sense. Josh says, it helps. You're welcome, Josh. No doubt on that one. Avoid arms, Joshua. It's a bad time for them. Lock in your rate. Doug, I did see, and not to be combative, but I just had a client buy a property down in Lakewood Ranch, and he took a 5-year arm, and it was capped. And I'd tell anybody to stay away from arms, especially if they're going to run at prevailing rate. This is where you really got to get in the weeds. But it was a 3.75 in today's market, right? We just closed. It was a 3.75, and it capped at 5.85. No, excuse me. It capped at 7.25 is what it capped at the end of that 5 years. And I think and it would stay down if the rates stay down, but if it went up, it could only go up to 7.5. So in today's market, in an environment, I think that's a fair risk. It is a risk, and I'm not recommending anybody do it. My client financially could withstand the risk there, right? So but it was interesting because typically I'm on Doug's side 100% with this. Be very cautious when somebody starts talking about, you see those 2-1s right now. That's a garbage product, especially if it's at prevailing rate. Man, be very cautious there, because there's going to be people coming out of the weeds with mortgage products that do not make sense for you. And I do not want to add your name to the list of distressed properties in any way, shape, or form. Right, Doug? We're not trying to encourage that activity at all. So I hope you guys got a bunch of value out of this. I'm sorry that we had a disruption in our live stream. And to be quite honest, it kind of threw me off a little bit. But I will make sure that we continue to get better at this practice. And I will put all of the articles that I was going to share today in the description on YouTube, y'all. So if you're not subscribed to our channel, go check that out. You can find that there. I love this. I love digging into the weeds and finding out what's really going on. I don't care about the headlines. Headlines are great, but talk to me about what's actually happening. What are people feeling on the street? Oh, and this is the last thing I want to say before we wrap this up today. If you are considering new construction, hit me up. I called all of the builders that we have done business with this year, and almost every one of them right now, and here's a really good indicator of what's happening in the market. When they were not offering any incentives and you were being forced to bid on lots and properties, these builders are now offering 10, 15, as much as $20,000 in buyer incentives to purchase in the form of cash at close, which means that you could buy down your interest rate. If you were considering buying a new construction and you're at a 5.5 today, which is a really good rate, and that could happen, and a builder wants to hand you $15,000, you can take that and buy down your rate. I'm not a mortgage guy. I'll get you in contact with the correct people to help you through this process. But think about that, right? And also, they are reaching out to us when they didn't even want to deal with real estate agents because they didn't have to, because you would call them directly and they could cut us out, which is funny because they've already got a budget built in for your real estate professional to help you make that purchase. It's already there. They're not giving you anything extra when they cut a real estate agent, quote unquote, out of the deal. And it puts you at risk. I can show you, right? Well, legally I can't, but if my client's allowed, I could disclose their inspection reports from their new construction builds over the last year. Y'all, trust me, you need somebody working on your behalf. And forget about the advocacy component of it. I'm talking about the deal. 15, 20 grand in your pocket. It makes a whole lot of sense. So reach out to me and my team. We'd love to help you make that connection on the back end. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I know that there are people who want a new construction and man, I don't know about that. What was it? Thanks, Doug. I'm hoping to pay cash. Yep, I paid off the house before. I loved it. Problem is, I only have 150 in cash. I'd love to run the numbers by to see. Yep. Okay, cool. These are great shares for you guys today. We appreciate you. We're going to let you get back to your Saturday. Thanks for sharing time with us. I cannot wait to be with you guys next Saturday as well, sharing all the details on what's happening in the market, good, bad, and the ugly. And until next time, go out and live that Tampa life, y'all.